It was one of those rare Saturdays when everything just felt right. The sun was shining, the lake behind my house shimmered like glass, and for once I had no meetings. No emails, just peace. I made a cup of coffee, sat out on my deck, and listened to the soft rustle of leaves. It was supposed to be the kind of morning people post about online with captions like, "My slice of heaven." Except my slice of heaven was about to be invaded. Out of nowhere, I heard laughter, high-pitched chatter, and the unmistakable sound of high heels on my stone path. At first, I thought maybe my neighbor was hosting guests. But when I looked through my fence slats, I froze. A group of women in glittery dresses, photographers with big lenses, and even a drone operator were marching straight through my backyard. My backyard? Without knocking, without permission. And leading the pack was none other than Linda Parker, the president of the HOA, clipboard in hand, sunglasses perched like she was directing a Vogue cover shoot. I stormed out the back door. "Excuse me, what the hell are you all doing on my property?" Linda barely looked at me. "Relax, Mike, we're just doing a community promo shoot for the HOA newsletter. Your lake view makes the perfect background." "My lake view?" I snapped. "Linda, that's my private property. You can't just waltz in here like it's a public park." She waved me off, motioning to the photographer. "Just 5 minutes, okay? We'll be gone before you know it." But 5 minutes turned into 15. The drone buzzed dangerously close to my deck railing, and one of the models, apparently a realtor, set her handbag right on my outdoor table. I pulled out my phone and started filming. "You're all trespassing. I'm documenting this." That got their attention. Linda's smile faded. "Oh, come on, Mike, don't be dramatic. We're doing this for the good of the community." "For the good of the community?" I said, my voice rising. "You're violating private property laws for a photo shoot." The photographer muttered, "Maybe we should leave." But Linda stood her ground. "You wouldn't dare file a complaint," she said, lowering her sunglasses. "Remember, the HOA controls your landscaping approvals. It'd be a shame if something happened to your deck renovation request." That's when I knew this wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was leverage. I smiled coldly. "We'll see about that." As they packed up and left, I glanced at the footage I'd captured. Perfect, clear, undeniable evidence. What Linda didn't know was that she'd just trespassed herself, right into a legal nightmare. That evening, I couldn't stop replaying the footage. Linda Parker, the all-powerful HOA president, standing in my backyard like she owned it, ordering people around, smiling for the camera, and threatening me in her sweet HOA tone. It was infuriating, but it was also useful. I uploaded the clip to a local community Facebook group with a simple caption. "HOA trespasses for a photo shoot on private property without permission." Within minutes, comments started rolling in. "That's crazy! Typical HOA nonsense. Sue them, bro." By the next morning, the post had over 2,000 shares. Neighbors I hadn't spoken to in years were messaging me, telling me their own stories about Linda, how she'd fined someone for leaving a trash, been out for 10 extra minutes, or demanded they repaint their mailbox for being too beige. Apparently, I wasn't the only one fed up. Around 10 a.m., my phone rang. It was Linda. "Mike," she said tightly, "we need to talk." "About what?" I asked, pretending to be clueless. "Don't play games. That video you posted, it's defamation. Take it down." I laughed. "Defamation?" "Linda, I filmed you trespassing on my property. You think I edited that in Photoshop?" There was a long pause. Then her voice hardened. "You've made a huge mistake. You've embarrassed the HOA. Do you have any idea what kind of trouble you're in?" "Oh, I think you're the one in trouble," I replied. Click. She hung up. By lunchtime, my post had made it onto a local news blog. The headline read, "HOA President accused of trespassing for unauthorized photo shoot." The article quoted my post and even included stills from the footage. Linda's face, frozen mid-command, became an instant meme. Someone captioned it, "When you think you own the whole neighborhood." Later that evening, my neighbor, Tom, knocked on my door. "Mike, you've started something," he said, grinning. "Half the neighborhood's talking about forming a petition to remove Linda as president." I couldn't help but smile. "Guess the community's finally getting a real photo shoot? This time of Linda in handcuffs." He laughed. "Careful, she might actually call the cops for that comment." I shrugged. "Let her. I've got proof and she's got a PR disaster. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. People like Linda didn't just back down, they doubled down. And if I knew her, she was already plotting her next move. What I didn't know then was that her move would drag the entire HOA board into the mess. By Monday morning, my quiet neighborhood had turned into a battlefield. Flyers appeared on mailboxes overnight. Official HOA letterheads. Bold red text and Linda's name at the bottom. The message was clear. Do not believe misleading social media posts. The recent trespassing incident was part of a sanctioned community event. Permission was implied by shared access to HOA-maintained spaces. Implied permission? That was a new one. My backyard wasn't HOA property. It was deeded privately. I'd paid for it, fenced it, and even paid extra taxes for lake access. The nerve of her. Then came the email. It was a formal notice of violation from the HOA board claiming my fence was non-compliant, and my deck lighting was a potential safety hazard. I almost laughed. This was textbook retaliation. My lawyer, Mr. Hendricks, didn't laugh. They're trying to intimidate you, he said over the phone. Classic power play. But the good news? You've got enough evidence to bury them? We drafted a cease and desist letter that afternoon, citing trespass, harassment, and abuse of authority. I sent it to the entire board, CCing the same local reporter who'd covered the story. By that evening, my inbox was chaos. Half the board members emailed me privately, apologizing. One wrote, "We had no idea Linda went onto your property. We were told you gave verbal consent." So Linda had been lying to her own board, too. The next day, I was surprised to find a news van parked near my driveway. The reporter from the article, a young woman named Julia, wanted an interview. Mr. Reynolds. Sources say the HOA president used community funds to hire the photographer. Is that true? She asked. Let's just say, I said carefully, I didn't see anyone paying out of their own pocket. When the segment aired that night, it exploded. Julia had found out the HOA's community promotion budget had indeed paid for the shoot almost. $3,200 billed to residents. Now it wasn't just trespassing, it was misuse of funds. The neighborhood chat group went insane. People demanded refunds, emergency meetings, resignations. One resident posted, Linda used our money to trespass on someone else's property. She needs to go. For the first time, Linda went silent. No calls, no threats, no smug flyers. Just quiet. But I knew her silence wasn't surrender. It was strategy. Because when the HOA scheduled an urgent member meeting for Friday night, the agenda didn't just say Photoshoot discussion. It said disciplinary action M. Reynolds. Friday night arrived like a storm. The HOA emergency meeting was held at the community clubhouse, a sterile beige building that smelled like air freshener and fear. By the time I walked in, nearly the entire neighborhood had shown up. Folding chairs filled every inch of space, and people stood along the walls. Phones were out, cameras recording. Everyone was ready for fireworks. At the front sat the board, 6 members in a neat row, and in the middle, wearing her trademark pearls and a forced smile, was Linda Parker. Let's bring this meeting to order, she announced, tapping her pen. The first item, disciplinary action regarding resident Michael Reynolds for spreading misinformation and defaming the HOA. A few people booed. Someone shouted, He's the victim, Linda! She ignored them. Mr. Reynolds, she continued, you've caused considerable damage to this community's reputation. Your online post has created hostility among neighbors and I raised a hand. Linda, before you go further, can we agree to one thing? She hesitated. What's that? That truth still matters. A murmur rippled through the crowd. I turned toward the audience and set my phone on the podium. For anyone who hasn't seen it yet, here's what actually happened. I pressed play. The video of the trespass filled the projector screen behind me. Gasps echoed across the room as the footage showed Linda ordering the photographer, models walking across my lawn, and her infamous line. You wouldn't dare file a complaint. Linda's face turned pale. When the clip ended, I let the silence hang. That, I said, is what she called a community event on my property. Without consent, funded by your HOA dues. The room erupted, angry voices, phones flashing, neighbors shouting questions. Even a few board members whispered to each other nervously. Finally, one of them, Greg, the treasurer, stood up. Linda, did you really use HOA funds for that shoot? Her lips tightened. It was a community promotion. Greg shook his head. You never got budget approval. I checked the records. The audience gasped again. I could almost feel the walls closing in on her. Moments later, another board member motioned for a vote. I moved to remove Linda Parker as HOA President, effective immediately. The vote was nearly unanimous. Only Linda's trembling hand rose against it. As she gathered her papers and stormed out, someone in the crowd yelled, "Smile for the next photo shoot, Linda." Laughter broke out, loud and cathartic. Afterward, Greg approached me. "Mike, the board owes you an apology and maybe a thank you. You exposed a lot tonight." I smiled faintly. "I just wanted my privacy back." He nodded. "Well, you also got your justice." That night, as I sat on my deck again, coffee in hand, the lake calm and quiet, I couldn't help but smile. The HOA had tried to frame me, but in the end, the only thing framed was Linda's downfall. In full HD.